Sunday school. We're going to start off with a little prayer this morning. So just be humble in your hearts. Dear most gracious Father, here it is again, dear Lord, that we just come and say thank you. Thank you for another day that we've never seen before. And Father God, we ask you to continue to lead us and guide us in the way we should go. We ask you, Father God, to just bless us in a way that we know you can, dear Lord. We ask you, Father God, to look in on the sick, Father God, because, Father God, there are many sick on your land today, Father God. We know you're the doctor that they need today, dear Lord. We ask you to look in on the bereaved. So, Father God, we ask you to look in on Brother Cuz and his family this morning, Father God. We ask you to stay with Sister Kate this morning, dear Lord. Many more who have lost a loved one, dear Lord. And then we have those that are incarcerated, dear Lord. We ask you to touch their mind and their heart for whatever they need, dear Lord. We know with you, they have another chance, dear Lord. We just thank you for all you have done, Father God. And we ask you to just continue to bless Jackson Chapel as a whole, Father God. Bless this pastor that you have put over him to lead us, Father God, that he will lead us in the way that you would have us to go, dear Lord. And we just thank you. We thank you for placing me here at Jackson Chapel. We ask all these blessings in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Our devotional reading will be coming from Daniel's, the 9th chapter, verses 4 through 6, and 15 through 19. Daniel chapter 9. 4 through 6. And I pray upon the Lord my God, and make my confession and say, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping the covenant and the mercy on them that love him, and to them that keep his commandment. We have sinned and have committed iniquities, and have done wicked, and have rebelled, even by departing from their perception and from their judgment. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servant, the prophet, who speak in their name to our king, our prince, and our father, and to all the people of the land. And 15 through 19. And now, O Lord, our God, that hath brought thy people forth out of the land of Egypt with the mighty hand, and has guided thou reown as it this day we have sinned, we have done wicked. O Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let sinners' anger and thy fury be turned away from the city, Jerusalem, the holy mountain, because for our sins and for our iniquities of our father, Jerusalem and their people are becoming a reproach of all that are about us. Now, therefore, O our God, hear the prayers of our servants, and has supplications, and cause their face to shine upon their sanctuaries that is dissolved for the Lord's sake. O Lord, incline thy ear, and hear upon thy eyes, and behold our desolation, and the city which is called by thy name, for we do not present our supplication, because they are for our righteousness, but for thy great mercy. O Lord, hear, O Lord, forgive, O Lord, hearken, and do defer not for thy own sake, O my God, for the city and our people are called by thy name. Mm-hmm. May this reading of the Lord's word be heard and done by the people of his people. Mm-hmm.
Amen. Amen. up this morning. Our superintendent, we are grateful for him. Our lesson today, Nehemiah, the captive cupbearer rebuilds a nation. Nehemiah. He was in Ezra last week, and this week we're dealing with Nehemiah. The book of Nehemiah continues the story of the Jewish exile who returned to their homeland after the Babylonian captivity. All right, we're told that the first group of peoples that left exile was about 50,000 in the first year of Cyrus, the king. All right? And he conquered Babylon in about 538 BC. Ezra, he was the second group that left. They had a release to go. And he led about 1,500 back. This was some 80 years later, all right, that from the first group. Between the first group and the second group, 80 years had expired. So Ezra, which was our lesson last week, was leading that second group. Now the first group went to rebuild the temple, and supposedly the walls were up. The second group, led by Ezra, he went to reinstate the law and to get the people back into worship like they're supposed to be. And he also had to deal with marriages. You know, we talked about that last week. He said they had married strange wives. I got tickled at myself, wife, and when I read that on the week about strange wives, and I said, well, we all got some strange wives. Well, now don't y'all comment on that. Strange wives, they married people of the land who worship idol gods. So that was Ezra's mission. This week, Nehemiah goes and get a release to go to Jerusalem. This is now 12 years after Ezra went. 12 years later, Nehemiah had a release to go back to Jerusalem. What was his mission? Nehemiah was to go back and to rebuild the walls. All right. Well, we thought that's what his mission was, but he was chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. Chapter 1 through 6, he was going to rebuild the walls. Chapter 7 through 12, Nehemiah, the covenant was renewed. And chapter 13, he purged the sins of the exile in Jerusalem. So Nehemiah did a lot of work. Now he had help from Ezra and Haggai. So, all right, that was Nehemiah's mission, was to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Well, how did he come to that conclusion? Why did he come to the idea of rebuilding the walls? Well, Nehemiah had a vision. Nehemiah, now, he was born in exile. There's no record that he ever been to Jerusalem. All right? So he was born in exile. But some of his brethren and some of the peoples from Jerusalem came up to the palace where Nehemiah worked. And he talked to them and asked them and inquired about Jerusalem. And they told him that Jerusalem was the capital city, the temple, the wall. The temple was okay. They had built it, but the walls were just bad. And in chapter 1, verse 3, and they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The walls of Jerusalem also are broken down, the gates thereof are burned with fire. And it came to pass when I heard these words that I sat down and wept and mourned certain days and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven. Now, under Nehemiah and Ezra and all of them, when something come up, first thing they did was fasted and prayed. And that would be a good idea for us to do that today. We ought to pray about Brother Robert. We have to pray about these things. Now, some things we know what to do, but we need to pray for direction on how to do it, how to go about it. doing it. So he prayed about it. And God heard him, because in chapter 2, now, he was hurt. Jerusalem, I said, he hadn't even been to Jerusalem. Some of us would, I didn't live there, I could care less about it. Robert, I think about you. I care less about that cemetery up there. Well, somebody don't know about this, but we'll bring it up. Okay. So he had cried and prayed. And then, what was his job? Our lesson title is Nehemiah, the captive cupbearer, rebuilds a nation. He was the cupbearer for the king in Persia. What is the cupbearer? Well, he was the servant to the king, but they were going to bring in some wine, as we're going to get in chapter 2, and he was to serve the wine. Bro, why not only did he have to serve him? I think he had to taste it. Food or whatever. What a job. I don't know Brother Robert like that job. Brother Russell, I don't. Because if somebody didn't like the king, they get you before they get the king, because you got to taste all that. So he was the cupbearer. He was a servant of the king. It was an honorable position. He had a little clout. He was in the king's presence. Anybody couldn't go in the king's presence. Okay, so that's a little bit about Nehemiah. So he wasn't born in Jerusalem and all that. So when he heard the state of the walls and the city, it really hurt him to his heart. So he prayed about it, and he went before the king. And this particular day, he went in before the king, and he was sad. And his head probably hung down, and the expression on his face wasn't right. And the king said, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And he went on to explain. Now, he had prayed about this. And I was thinking, I said, well, he wasn't putting on, was he, going there for the sake? No, he was really sad over the state of Jerusalem. And the king saw the countenance, his expression. And the king inquired, "Why are you so sad? You're never this way." And they tell me that you wasn't allowed to go before the king with sad expressions or complaining and all that, because he could have you put to death. All right, but he was sad. And he explained to the king that, I got a report that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down. He said, and my forefathers, and all of them are buried there. So, wow, this is what I thought about you. I was thinking about you last night. My forefathers are buried there, and their sepulchres and the walls and all of them ruined and built and burned with fire, and it's just in bad shape. And it's on my heart. I want to do something. "O king, if you would please allow me leave to go." All right, that's in chapter 2, verse we're not covering. And the king said, "How long will you be gone?" And he explained to the king, the time it would take to do this project. And the king granted him permission to go. And he gave him the resources that he needed to rebuild the wall. Gave him an armed escort. Gave him everything that he needed to perform this task. Now, somebody must have heard his prayer. That's what I said. Because somebody touched the heart of the king. God been in this picture ever since Zerubbabel left with the 50,000, ever since Ezra left with the 1,500. God has been dealing with these kings, and these kings' heart is just melting, and they are allowing the peoples to go back. Okay, so we can't leave God out of the picture. We stick our chest out thinking something we done. Okay, Nehemiah knew that God was in this plan. So this brings us up to the lesson, verse 11. "So I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days." Now, one more thing I need to say. He told the king, after the king said, "I'll let you go." He said, "Well, I need some letters, because as soon as I get over across certain rivers, that. And then I need a letter for the guy to keep other forests, because he ain't going to let me have no longer." And the king granted him everything he needed and gave him the escort. So, when I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days, he said, "Well, he waited 3 days when he got to Jerusalem." Well, they said that the trip was about 1,100 miles. And they said it would take about 3 months for Nehemiah to get from Susa, the capital city in Persia, to Jerusalem. So about 3 months trip. So he needed some time to rest after such a trip like that. All right. One thing he needed, he also could use that time to plan. Hello, somebody? Plan. He needed some time to plan. And so he took 3 days. And he evidently probably was still praying. We should pray without ceasing. So he took 3 days and he would go to chapter verse 12. He said, and I arose in the night, and I saw some few men with me. I arose, and some few men with me. Neither told I any man what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. Now, for those of you on Facebook, I keep referencing Robert. Robert talked to us about something before we started Sunday school, and I was telling him that I was thinking about him when I studied the lesson, so I keep referencing back to him. Y'all don't know the story, but you know the whole story. Okay. That's why I keep referencing back to him. So he rose in the night, took a few men with him. Neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. So Nehemiah went out by night, all right, to inspect, to devise a plan, all right, to see what the situation was. He didn't take a lot of people. He didn't take a lot of animals. The only animal he took was the one he was riding upon. Why so much secrecy? Verse 13. And I went out by night by the gate of the valley, even before the dragon well, and the dung port, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. So he went out by night and he went and inspected these gates, devising a plan. The gate of the valley appeared to be on the southwestern side of Jerusalem. And you find that in 2 Chronicles, said that King Uzziah built a tower there. Nehemiah chapter 3 verse 13 tells the extension of the damage done to that gate and the work that they was done to it and who was assigned to do that work and even how much work. It was about 1,500 feet of wall that was assigned there. Chapter 3 tells us all about who was assigned to do the work and what section they were to work on. Okay. So the dragon well is disputed, though it is often identified as the pool of Solomon. Okay. The dung port is which he went, may be described as the gate leading to the trash dump. All right. But they take all the rubbish to burn, human and food and whatever. That was the dung port. Okay. The scene before Nehemiah was very much in keeping with what his brother had told him when they came to the palace. They told him what had happened in Jerusalem and what it looked like, and now he is seeing it for himself. It is one thing to hear what somebody tell you or describe something to you. It's another thing when you see it for yourself, when you see it. Verse 14. Then went I up on the gate of the fountain into the king's pool, but there was no place for the beast that was under me to pass. The gate of the foundation, it was situated on the southeastern walls of Jerusalem. The king's pool, they said that Hezekiah had something to do with this project. He was bringing water into the city, and he decided that, if somebody wanted to besiege the city, at least they would have water inside the city. So he built this. That was under Hezekiah. Okay. But the rubble at the pool was so great, his beast, or his animal, couldn't even get through. Verse 15. Then went I by night, in the night, by the brook, and viewed the wall, and turned back, and entered the gate of the valley, so and so returned. So he went up to the brook, he viewed the rest of the wall. They said that he didn't make a complete circle of this whole city, but he went up to the brook and he could see the destruction from afar. And he returned the way that he came, back through the valley gates. All right? He said that, and entered by the gate of the valley, and so returned. So he returned. He said, I've seen enough. I've seen enough. Now I have to devise a plan. And now I have to get the peoples on board with this project. Follow me, Robert? I've seen the work that needs to be done. I'm going to devise a plan. And then I got to share this plan with the people, for the work is too much for me to do by myself. We all need help. Okay. That's verse 15. Verse 16. And the rulers knew not where I went or what I did. Neither had I as yet told it to the Jews, nor the priests, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest that did the work. Again, this verse signifies the secrecy that Nehemiah was about his task on. Why so much secrecy? Well, in the planning stage, Pastor, before we have a church conference or to deal with a project, we probably need to plan and get our ducks in a row of who we want to bring before the pulpit or before the people. You don't want to go there blind and all that, so you need to know, have a plan of action. So it was secrecy, but he was planning. He was planning, he was viewing it for himself, and then he was devising a plan, and so he hadn't shared it with anybody. Okay. What kind of ministry may need to be conducted on a level of secrecy at first? It said, consider Matthew 6:3. It said, but when thou doest alms, let not your left hand know what your right hand does, that thy alms may be done in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself reward thee openly. Your charitable deeds, maybe some of those should be done in secret to start out with. Okay? That's one thing you can do. Next one is prayer. When you pray, don't be after hypocrites long. Well, they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. Sometimes secrecy, what I'm saying is, sometimes secrecy is okay, all right, for a time. Look at John chapter 7, verses 6 through 10. And I won't read all of that, but that's what I'm talking about with being those verses. Verse 8 said, go ye up to this feast. Jesus telling his disciples. He said, I'm not going up to the feast, for my time is not yet full come. Verse 10 said, but when his brethren was gone up, then went he also up to the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Jesus went up, but it was in secrecy. Sometimes it's not time. We're dealing with a plan and timing. And God, Jesus worked on his plan. He had a specific time for everything to take place. So sometimes it is good to have a little secrecy in the planning stages. All right? What would have happened if Nehemiah had revealed his mission right off the bat? Right off the bat, he said, look, y'all, the walls are messed up, we're going to rebuild them. And what the Pastor, you came to Jackson John and said, the walls around Courtland are torn down, they've been burned out, and we're going to rebuild them. Somebody would say, who's going to rebuild them? Why we got to do it? We didn't burn it down. And then you got all the naysayers. We ain't able to do that. Why are we going to get the money from them? All that. So Nehemiah did all the planning, bro. And he got all that stuff under control first. All right. Got the planning stage. Verse 17. Then said I unto them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, let us build up the walls of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. We don't know how much time passed between these verses, but verse 17 said, he went up and he told them, look, I've been out and I've viewed the walls, and I'll tell you, it's just a shame. It's just a shame. Robert viewed the cemetery, and Robert said, it's just a shame. All right? He said, the walls are burned with fire. Come, let us build the walls of Jerusalem, that we be no more reproaches. He said, y'all come on. Now he had already got his plan. He already knows the work to be done. He already got permission. He got resources. Now he tells the people what his plans are and why he is in Jerusalem. All right? He said the city is a reproach. Now, people's just said it's just a shame. Those are God's peoples. Look at that city and look at the wall. Yeah, that's just a shame. They're making a mockery out of God's people. Nehemiah probably told them that this is the holy city, and the temple of God is located in this holy temple, and we ought to want to keep it maintained. We should be the same way. Since we've been in this pandemic, a lot of the churches haven't been open. They've been having Facebook services. I heard that some of the churches was kind of like in disrepair. Well, it looked like those churches need a Nehemiah. Like Jackson Chapel there, we have a Robert Young. and that's just not going to happen as long as we got Nehemiah and Robert Young here. All right? So, because he's going to keep it up. But it is a shame that people's looking at the city, and so we don't want to be a mockery to the community. We want to keep God's property up. So Nehemiah wanted to rebuild the wall. And he wanted to tell the people now what he wanted to do. All right? Now, in verse 17 there, I think things got quiet. We in the meeting now. He told, look, it's a shame. We want to build a wall, and we're going to build this wall, and we need to do it. And this is serious or reproach. And I think things got quiet like they do in church meetings here. Got real quiet. Nobody saying anything. Get verse 18. Then I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, and also the king's word that hath spoken unto me. Now, verse 18, that's going to make the people feel better. He tells them that y'all may think this was my idea, which somebody brought it to my attention. But the hand of God was upon me. The hand of God is with me. And I can share with you why I know that God is with me on this project. I know what y'all probably thinking. Yeah, some people's come here before and tried to build something up, and it got hindered, and it got stopped. Now here you come with this big bright idea, and so he knew that he had to get the peoples on board with him. So he told them what God had did for him. He probably went all the way back to where we started, how God touched the heart of the king, and how the king gave him permission, and how the king gave him resources, and even gave him an escort to bring him back to Jerusalem. All right? So that would make the people feel a lot better. All right? God touched him. In verse 18b, and they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hand for the good work. Well, that's what it took. It was kind of quiet in one verse, but when he said God was involved in it, see, sometimes we want to do things and we hadn't planned, we hadn't prayed. He started out with prayer. And God was with him, and he shared it with the peoples. And now he got the peoples on board, and they are ready to go to work. And maybe Nehemiah is trying to tell us something today. That's the way we may ought to go about God's business. Now,
But
you had something to say about it.
no, you finna get to the naysayers now.
Okay. Well, we're going up. We're going to build. And they straighten their hands for the good work. Now, the commentary that I was reading had a note on it. Said, there are times when maybe you ought to pause for evaluation or motive for participating in a task. So sometimes you might ought to pause, Brother Wyatt, before Brother Robert. I'm going to stay on Brother Robert this way. I'll pick somebody else God this way. Sometimes you ought to pause and kind of think about it before you agree to this task. And why would I say that? All right, look, now the people said in the last part of verse 18, let us rise up and build. So they straightened their hands for the good work. Why would you pause and think about something? Genesis 11:4. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach into heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. You may not consider that one. you may all want to pause a little while and wait a minute. Is this project from God to build a tower, the Tower of Babel, to build a tower to reach heaven? And the people got up and they started building what? And they said they would have done it too if God hadn't stopped them. So that's a project that sometimes you might ought to think before you jump into a project. Now, also in Ezra chapter 4, verses 1 through 5, the first group of people that went back to build a temple, some of the adversaries came along and said, hey, let us help y'all build this temple. And Zerubbabel and some of the priests and all them men, they said, no, we don't need y'all help. We'll build our own temple. We'll do it by ourselves. All right, we don't need you. Sometimes you might ought to think about that too. Verse 5 in Nehemiah 1 said, and they hired counselors against them and frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius. When they told them, no, y'all can't help us, those people went against them and they stirred up trouble and they actually stopped the project from moving forward, all right, for a long time. So consider all of that, you see, when you're making those plans. Sometimes everybody brings something to you that's not of God. And so sometimes you have to think about it, pray about it. Some things are plain. It's plain to see these walls need to be built. Well, that's one thing. But I'm talking about in today's time. People said, the Lord told me that. The Lord told me. Sometimes the Lord didn't tell them that. So sometimes you have to pause and think about it. Okay, verse 19. But when Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, and Gretchen the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us, and said, what is this thing that you do? Will you rebel against the king? Anytime you start to do something right, opposition will come. All right, just keep that in mind. And when opposition comes, don't let that stop you from the project. Continue to do the work for opposition. That lets you know that you may be doing something right. For opposition will come. Now, why were these guys so insistent on stopping this project? These are peoples that oppose God's people all the way through history. Opposition. All right? These are the Ammonites. Peoples have always opposed God's peoples. The Arabians and so like. And verse 28 said, then answered I and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us, therefore his servant will arise. And he could have told them that I got permission from the king. But he didn't tell them. He said to God, my God has given us permission.
He answered them and said, the God of heaven. He didn't say Artaxerxes, king of Persia. He said, but the God of heaven. He said, that's whom he gave the credit. God was not going to abandon him now after God has brought him this far. So God didn't bring us this far to leave us. So when opposition comes, don't be afraid. All right? Don't be afraid. If you prayed about it and it's the right thing to do, you continue the work. All right. But you have no portion, no right, or memorial in Jerusalem. He know that he had backing from the king, but he know that he got backing from the King of Kings. So he tell these opposers, you have no portion. That means you have no property or anything in Jerusalem. You have no rights, no legal right to hinder this project, nor memorial. You just have no ties to this community, really. So why are you even here trying to hinder us? You need to just go on about your business. All right. And I'm about to end right there. But you have no portion, no right with us. Under what circumstances would you refuse help from someone on a project? Mark 9:38. And John answered them, saying, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name. He followed not us. And we forbade him, because he followed not us. But Jesus said unto them, forbade him not. For there is no man which shall do a miracle in my name that can lightly speak evil of me. All right? So, if it's in Jesus' name, don't forbid him. Sometimes you may have to refuse help, but not on this one. Ephesians. 1 Corinthians 5 and 11, verse 9 through 11, says, I write unto you an epistle not to keep company with fornicators, not altogether with the fornication of this world. And I'm going to skip to verse 11. But now I have written unto you not to keep company. If any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, a covetous, an idolater, a railer, a drunkard, or an extortioner, with such a one, don't even eat. Now, if he's a deacon in church and he falls into all these categories, he's a drunkard and all this, he says you don't even need to go eat with him. That's just it. He's a brother. Don't even eat. He's an extortioner, a drunkard, and all that. With such a one, don't even eat. Now the question was, what circumstance would you refuse help from someone? Sometimes you just don't need help from that person. You really don't. Ephesians 5 and 11 says, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord, that's verse 10 and 11. Verse 11 says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful work of darkness, but rather reprove them. So, sometimes some people will not be any good on your program, on your plan, on your project. Some will be there just to hinder. So it's best just to don't deal with those people. Just go ahead and do God's work. Be prayerful about it and do what God has assigned you to do. All right, thank you, and we are out of time. God bless all.